Welcome to the Franchise Masters podcast, where aspiring entrepreneurs learn what it takes to find, buy, and build successful franchise businesses. My name is Drew Carpenito, and I'm your host as we dive into these fascinating behind-the-scenes stories of people who have used surprising franchises to create massive success. I'm glad you're here. Let's dig in. Welcome to the Franchise Masters podcast. Today, I am joined by a multi-unit franchise owner of Club Pilates, Jon Smith, who I've gotten to know a little bit over the years, and we reconnected recently. And I was like, "Dude, come tell your story on the podcast." And he was like, "No," and I was like, "Yes, you got a great story. Come on." So here we are. I convinced him to come on. So Jon, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Drew.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better and your story. I think you're doing some really cool things and with Club Pilates, and I think Club Pilates is kind of one of those franchises. People are like, outside looking in, they're like, Pilates, what? I don't get it, but there's a story behind it. So let's start with you. Like, how'd you find your way into Club Pilates and this whole franchising thing?
Yeah, so I'd been self-employed for over 20 years with a family business, which was in sales. Owned a sales territory that sold cap and gowns, announcements, diploma covers to high schools in the state of Georgia. So it was a family business, and I've done it for 20 years, and I was really looking for something else, mainly because, I came to find out if I didn't show up for work, then I wasn't going to make any money. So very, very much relationship oriented. So it's hard to scale yourself out of that business. And so I was looking at franchising, and, I was actually on the beach with one of my partners now in 2016. And he said, "Have you ever looked at franchising?" And I was like, yeah, I just don't know what to pick. There's a lot out there. And so he knew of one of his buddies, acquaintances that was in franchising. And we ended up speaking to a consultant like yourself, and really came down to a couple different options, and we chose Club Pilates.
So from sitting on a beach in 2016 to
right,
today,
June of 2016.
Right, June.
We flew out to California August that same year, and decided to buy 6 units in the Raleigh Triangle market.
Okay. And were you living in Raleigh at that time?
No, I was in Georgia.
You were in Georgia. Okay.
And so I decided to move my family to Raleigh because I knew in my heart that once if I was still involved with my family business, that once I hit that first bump in the road, which you always do, I would revert back to my safety net. And so I made the choice to go all in and figure it out. So that's what we did.
That's all in, my friend. So you moved the family and the kiddos to from Georgia to Raleigh and started your Club Pilates venture, huh?
That's right.
So so 2016, so Club Pilates has been, quote unquote, somewhat of a unicorn franchise, I think, in terms of just what happened in terms of the growth and everything. And but what was it that about Club Pilates that drew you guys?
There's a few things that really stood out. I think we actually did a workout. I'd never done Pilates, obviously. All 3 of our partners at the time did a workout together, and all had a successful workout, even though we're all shapes and sizes. So that really stood out. It was a quality workout. Really liked the recurring revenue aspect of the business, predictive cash flow, the large demographic that we serve was a huge plus. It's just a broad range of people that can have successful workouts in Pilates. And it was really disrupting the Pilates industry, really, because previously it was always about buying a package and using a package. Maybe you'd buy a 10-pack or what have you. So there was no one doing this recurring revenue model of membership type boutique fitness at the time. You had Orange Theory Fitness out there. You had a few others, but nobody in the Pilates realm was doing this membership model. So we love them. And then, lastly, I think, Anthony Geisler and Sean Grove were the kind of leaders at the time. And I just really bought into their vision. And they'd done it before with LA Boxing, and kind of had a record of being successful. So
And
that's kind of what got us over the hump.
that was before Exponential was
That's right. Yeah.
Exponential,
So
right?
it was just Club Pilates. That was it.
Okay.
That was the
Wow.
only brand they owned at the time. There were, I think, they had 89 sold when we bought in, about 35, 40 open. And so we're pretty early adopters. And then, when we validated, it was, some of the validation was folks that had been part of Club Pilates before Anthony bought them. And, they were a little bit leery of the new concept, the new model and processes, but they were having success. And so, everyone we talked to was pretty pleased with the results. So, we decided to go ahead and buy the entire Raleigh market just to protect ourselves from, and protect for future growth.
Wow. So you really were early in like the 2.0 Geisler model with Club Pilates,
right.
Huh?
That's exactly right. And it's, even gotten better over the time that we've been in. They've gotten, fine tuned it. And it's, as new owners come in, they're setting new records, and
really,
doing really well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fascinating kind of case study in franchising to kind of look at Club Pilates and the growth it's had. But for anybody listening, so you were part of the Geisler. The Club Pilates was kind of the first brand under the Anthony Geisler, which is now Exponential Fitness, which is now a publicly traded company portfolio.
That's right.
So you guys have been around for the ride, huh? What's that ride been like? Has it been positive as the company's become a publicly traded company, or has it been
I think
a little different?
definitely the brand awareness is just off the charts as far as lead flow. What we're spending per lead is improved as more and more people are aware. So I would say that's been very much a positive thing from the public going public. They're able to attract really good quality. The franchise Zor has been able to hire extremely good people to help them run the business. So that's been exciting. And it gives you more franchisees to talk to within that. I talk to all the different types of brand owners, and we all, these conferences, you're able to really get to know a lot of different people and get ideas from a lot of other brands. So it's a group thing. So it's a lot of positives come with it.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the quality of some of the operators that got involved with Club Pilates, right? A lot of first time business owners, but also there was some experienced multi-unit operators that got involved too, right?
That's right.
Yeah. The Liberty. I think there's a lot of Liberty tax connection, right?
There were.
Yeah. So what's your current operation look like today?
Yeah. So we're up to 11 open studios, and then we have 12 and 13 that are in the pipeline for this year, 2023, and then we have the ability to get to 17. So we continued to buy up some dirt as it became available to help expand.
Wow. So how many do you have in
growth has taken place over the last year and a half?
Good for you. That's awesome. So you guys started in Raleigh. How many do you have open in Raleigh?
So right now we had 6 open in Raleigh, and we from last September 2021 until September 22, we went from 6 to 11. So we went to 9 in Raleigh, and we acquired a studio in Georgia and are expanding in Georgia.
So you guys almost doubled pretty quickly, huh?
We did, yeah, from 6 to 11 in 12 months.
What was that like?
It was fun. Learned a lot. I'm becoming, I think you spend your early 20s and your 30s trying to be relevant in your workplace. And for the last, 3 or 4 years, I've been trying to figure out how to be you relevant. So, and so I'm not making the decisions. You hire a great team and you let them run. And so that's, previously I'd also been a basketball coach. So I feel like I'm a pretty good recruiter and can see talent and the way it fits into the team. So it's kind of how I approach setting up, our team. So I've always said, it's easier to guide a wild stallion than to move a dead horse. So I look for wild stallions, and we set up parameters around, what they're able what decisions they can and cannot make, and let them go. So we've been really fortunate with our team, and they really made it happen. It wasn't
Yeah.
me; it was really the team.
But you had to be comfortable, number one, finding talent, which you can't teach talent. And then, putting the structure in place and given probably a lot of responsibility, like delegating a pretty significant amount of responsibility to let the stallions run, right, within the guardrails. But that's, sometimes like it's not easy letting, giving a significant amount of responsibility to somebody when it's your own business and own money on the line.
Yeah, it's not, but it's also freeing, because if you understand your weaknesses, it's pretty easy to give something up that you're not really strong in. So I've learned a lot about myself over the years. I can delegate my weaknesses pretty well, which there are a lot. So I delegate a lot.
No, hey, what you're doing is pretty impressive. What was it that, like, what was there anything that like shifted in your mindset or how you think about your business that kind of got you into that, like trying to make yourself irrelevant, kind of focus and building a good team of people and whatnot? Or was it something that you kind of were always, always trying to do?
Yeah, I just I've always made a lot of decisions with the gut instinct, but I've realized that more people you can get involved that have had experience making those same type of decisions, and hearing from them, learning from other franchisees or other people in the franchising community, has helped me kind of, focus on my why and keep that in front of me. And my why is, most likely, most important things to me is my family, spending time with my kids. I have 3 daughters. I like to, mentor in the community. I like to have time to do stuff that I'd like to do. And so setting up a schedule to where that I can make those things happen is kind of always been my goal. And I'm kind of getting to that point now where I can do the things I want to do.
So yeah, you've come to appreciate that you can't create more time, right? Unless you build a team of people and it sounds like you're very intentional about the lifestyle that you want to have as a business owner as well.
Yeah, we've grown more organically from the ground up, and it's just worked out that way. We've acquired one studio, and the rest have been from ground up. And I would say, we've really leaned into the franchisor for their support, and they're training our GMs, and they have really good quality programs and processes in place that help us be successful. So it wasn't all on us, Yeah, we hired a great team, but I really made a decision to really lean into the franchisor to get them to help us scale, because that's what they're there for.
Yeah, and it sounds like, well, would you say that what's now Exponential, but Sean and the team at Club Pilates before Exponential was Exponential, like, it sounds like they did a pretty good job of evolving themselves as a corporate support resource for the franchisees as Club Pilates started to hit the hockey stick exponential growth. Because I don't know, was it like, was the hockey stick growth showing like when you were getting involved, or was it just kind of like, good growth, but not the,
Yeah,
holy moly, here we go.
It grew pretty fast. And the great thing about it was, people were opening studios. And so that was the biggest thing you could see is, yes, they were selling a lot of territories, but people were opening, and you were having success after success. People were, improving upon the pre-sale memberships, setting new records. And it was an exciting time to be a part of it. That first 2019, we opened 2 in 2017, 1 in 2018, and 3 in 2019, right before the pandemic. And so, North Carolina was shut down for 7 months.
Yeah.
So, the franchise, really supported us through that with a lot of help and guidance. And so, every week Anthony was on a call, just showing up and giving us great support. So, and we came out of COVID just ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you went from doubled relatively quickly and recently, like how has your team and the organization that you've built to manage your multi-unit operation, how has that evolved as you guys have grown? And what does it look like, if you don't mind me sharing or asking?
Yeah, no, we have a regional manager that basically handles both Georgia and North Carolina. And then we have area managers. Our area manager can handle 2 studios. studios, so we give the ability for managers to grow from 1 to 2, and then we also have general managers at each location. So it's really the support, and like I told you before, I think we leaned into the franchisor for training, and as opening new studios, it's almost like another accountability arm. And if you have a really good relationship with your franchisor, they're giving you feedback about general managers, how things are going. And so it helps me have a set of eyes as well. So I use them, probably offloading a position that I would probably have to hire to the franchisor, especially opening new studios.
Yeah, that's great that you have faith in the feedback and leaning into them to be able to help get a little bit of leverage there off of your P&L and resources. So like as it relates to like the managers of your locations, right? So I've had a bunch of multi-unit franchisees on the podcast, and we've kind of talked about, you can have the best location in the world, you can have all the advertising cranking in, but if you don't have a good manager, things are going to be a little difficult. So what are some of the things that you look for in the GMs of your locations as you continue to grow?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we've realized early on with the Club Pilates model is it was very much a sales oriented role. So the general manager has to want to hit a number, and so be motivated by hitting a sales goal, taking care of people, people person, smiles, and interactive. It's pretty simple things, but if they've never been in a sales role, they only manage people before, they might not be a good fit. But we found that with that sales arm and the ability to manage a process, manage people, they can be successful. It's a fairly simple model if you follow the playbook, and that's what we try to do.
Yeah. So have you been recruiting from within the fitness and health and wellness industry,
Yeah,
or
so
are you open to kind of going
we've been able to
outside
land
of it?
a few recruits from outside of Club Pilates that have worked at other boutiques, fitness, or even some big box gyms that have had the training, specifically, sales training, and they've been real pleased with, our culture and fitting in well with our processes. So
yeah, nice. So they have the experience background, and then you guys look for probably the
yeah,
attitude,
a lot of them have
the
the
mindset.
corporate training from some of the big boys, and they come in and they have that behind them, and they are able to use that to help us.
Yeah. So how do you guys stack up with the number of locations that you currently have? How do you stack up in terms of the size and scope of the multi-unit operation within the Club Pilates family? Are you guys kind of like one of the bigger ones, or are you where do you land?
It's hard. Yeah, I don't know necessarily. I know probably one of the bigger ones, but comparison is a thief of joy. So,
Well said.
yeah.
Well said.
So it's easy. I think there's some bigger ones out there. I think we're probably in the top 10
Okay.
right now. But as Club Pilates is growing overseas, and there's some folks in Australia that are building out some UK is about to get developed. So
Really? Wow.
yeah, but yeah, I think we're probably in the top 10.
So as you've been, on your journey in franchising, and you were a consultant at one point, which is where we got to know each other, and I'm trying to recruit you back, and you've got too good of a lifestyle to let me do that, which I respect. But like, have you ever had like that little temptation where you're like, I hear good things about this other franchise, maybe I'll get involved there, compared to like just doubling down like you guys have done to just focus on the brand that you've gotten to know so well?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's there's always this thought of diversifying because there's not much dirt left, right? Club Pilates, so unless you're going to go out and acquire existing studios, which is available, but it's not something we want to do right now. We're happy with our depth, our leverage at this point. But there's a lot of I'm always watching and seeing what's out there, but it might be a good fit. But it's also a risk too, because
Right. Yeah.
it took us 6 years to get to this point. Doing it all over again with another brand is not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in the, you got a good thing going, it sounds like, and just, kind of avoiding the temptation of, the things you hear about these emerging brands that are coming up. I think you're also a little spoiled too, because Club Pilates has been one of the
even the real estate. It's early on, it was kind of hard to define real estate, and you have to tell your story about Club Pilates and who we were. But now, people are calling us.
Really?
Would you like? So it's a lot different. Getting really good deals on TI, and so yeah, people are really excited about the brand. Commercial real estate, open to boutique fitness. For a long time they weren't. Now you'll see, rows of fitness.
Yeah.
And we are, actually have one of our plazas we're in has 3 Expo brands in the plaza.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for anybody listening, Exponential Fitness is they own, what is it, 10? I think it's 10 concepts now.
10. Mm-hmm.
They're a behemoth, big company, Stretch Lab, Club Pilates, Cycle Bar, a bunch of them. And they've done a good job of kind of leveraging their collective influence in the world of commercial real estate to get on the radars of a lot of these REITs and some of these bigger landlords to and get access to some of the real estate that other franchise companies might not.
And we were a little scared at first because we were the first ones in the plaza, right? And so we had a little bit of this, we don't want anybody else. But the reality is, we had a Stretch Lab come right next door to us, and it actually helped both of our businesses.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know, but it did. I think it's just brand awareness. I think, the Stretch Lab user is a little different. I think they're probably 50-50 male, female, where we're 90% female.
Okay.
So you had husbands going to get stretched while their wives were the Pilates class.
Okay.
It was interesting.
That is interesting. Hey there, it's Drew. Hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Hey, dropping in to mention that if you're thinking about starting a business and curious if there's a franchise out there that's the right fit, I want to help you. I help people find and buy franchises. Whether you're a first-time business owner or a current franchisee thinking about getting into another franchise, I can help you quickly find some of the top emerging franchises in the country that want to expand to your area and then help you figure out if any of them are the right fit. And just like working with a real estate agent, there's no cost to you. If you want to hop on a call to discuss, reach out to me via my website, drewcarpenito.com, and I spell my first name, DRU. So you guys have been through the gauntlet, you've been through the pandemic, and I'm sure you've been through some other stuff as you guys have scaled. We make this stuff sound pretty easy. There's a lot of work and a lot of sweat equity that goes into this. But I think, so as you there's some there's some aspiring multi-unit franchisees that listen to this podcast and current multi-unit franchisees looking to scale, and even franchise companies that are, bringing on multi-unit franchisees. What's some of the advice as you've gone through your growth and your journey? Like some of the lessons learned for people that are looking to scale, in a big way. Like, what are some of the, are there any things that kind of stand out to you as you look back and reflect, like, hey, I wish we would have done this a little bit differently, or know this? Or...
in 2021, one of my partners and I had a chance to get out, but we didn't. We decided to stay in, and we brought on a new partner that was, provided capital, some growth capital, as well as some strategic banking relationships, which was huge for us at the time. So we did not have those in the past. So that's been, helped us grow. I think people, staying ahead of the people. For example, the Pilates, Pilates instructors, you just can't go around and hire them off the street, right? So you got to develop your team. So we really doubled down into our training, getting our pipeline, we called our farm team, to make sure we could handle the growth, specifically in Raleigh, opening those additional 3 studios. You have to have the instructors to open them. So we spent a lot of money on training new instructors. Now we're doing the same thing in Georgia. It's a program that, corporate run, but it's up to us to execute it, to get people in the pipeline and become instructors. So that's number one, I think. And then, make sure your capital is there and planned out for future growth. Yeah.
People and money, huh? That's which is well said. There's as you grow, right? There's, we talked a little bit about it. There's the opportunity to acquire the existing studios, but that's a premium. Like, you're going to pay typically a premium on the profitability of any existing studio or franchise compared to running the numbers on opening a new location and modeling that out, based on what you guys have seen from your other studios. So, and that's where you can create that equity, but you can't do it without the people, right? You gotta
have a great team, and great partners, and I've always been fond of partnerships. I've never not had one. So I like doing things together and having a team partners around me as well. So I would say that's been key to our growth as well, just being aligned in what we're trying to accomplish. Not getting too hungry as far as biting off too much that we don't want to chew, but at the same time growing at a steady rate that we're all comfortable with.
Yeah. No, well said. Yeah. Business partnerships are can be a delicate thing, but can be a powerful thing once you get it right.
Can be, yeah,
for sure.
For sure.
All right. So you feel like one of your strengths is to identify talent. The wild stallions. Are there any things that you do in particular in terms of like how you run your recruiting or interview process, or certain questions that you've developed over the years that you're kind of your go-to to ask? Or like, what do you like? How do you know when you have the talent? Like, what is it that stands out?
Well,
to you
a lot of times you don't know until you know.
Yeah, fair enough, right?
So there's I wish I had the answer before, but a lot of times you hire and then you see, the Super Bowl is coming up, so I always use this analogy of a goalpost with our managers, and I give them this goalpost, and we continually have this dialogue of what you can kick through the goalpost without having to ask me if you can kick it or not. And so, early on, it's reining in some decisions they might make. They want to kick the 60-yarder, but yeah, it's probably best that we punt at this point. We're not going to do that. So it's getting to know them that way, but also give them freedom to make decisions and fail, so you can correct them. And so that's a key thing early on in that relationship, is to give them the freedom to fail. And a lot of times you can get a lot more out of them, your managers and your team, if you allow that freedom. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it sounds like you do a really good job of empowering people that are within your team, which can be unique a lot of times, right? Because like a lot of other jobs, you have a tight constraint in terms of like what you're empowered to do and not do. So giving folks some more runway to operate within, and them understanding that if they make a mistake, it's okay, as long as it's not a massive mistake and they don't kick it at maybe kick it at the wrong goalpost, kind of thing. And as long as we learn from that, right? Because that's
they run the studio a lot better than I can run it. I can just tell you that.
Really?
Yeah.
Which I think for like a lot of prospective franchisees, like that's almost like how do you process that? I mean, you own as many Club Pilates franchises as you do, and you can't run the studio better than your managers. Like some people are just like, how does that even happen? You have to be the best at everything you do to operate these businesses, right?
Yeah. No. No. Yeah. So the owner operators, the ones owning, that own one and are in there on a daily basis operating. I really have a lot of respect for those folks, because it's hard, and I think, once you get to 2 and 3, I think 2 is harder than 1. And then once you get to 3, it's when you really can start, becoming more irrelevant in your organization. That makes,
Well, so that'd be interesting to dig in. So why do you think that 2 is harder than 1 to operate?
Well, it's initially that first time splitting your time, and knowing how to do that is hard.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to manage to making those decisions, because sometimes you're hiring 2 managers to run both, so it's a hit to your P&L, the bottom line. But it's a decision you have to make your life better and to grow. And so that's the decisions you have to make initially are tough when you go from 1 to 2.
Yeah, three is always the magic number, right? In like multi-unit development. Why do you think that is at 3? Like it gets easier at 3 for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think it's you can delegate your decision making more effectively, and it gets big enough to where you can start, doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, got more revenue coming in. Yeah, more money to play with. Yeah, no, well said. Yeah, for whatever reason, 3. People say, "Hey, why is everybody telling me to go with 3?" I'm like, really? That's just the magic number for whatever reason. That if you've been in franchising, you always hear 3, like the race to 3, right? Is if you're thinking about a multi.
Yeah, I mean, I think owning the entire market is a great thing if you can, because the reality is we have instructors that teach across all of our studios. So in Georgia, it's a little bit different, where we're sharing a lot of the same resources. So you definitely have to have really good relationships with other owners. We do in Georgia. I'm thankful for that, but that's not always the case.
Oh, so you share instructors amongst other franchise
Yep.
locations.
Right.
Oh, smart.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you've mentioned that a few times as we've discussed that, which I think like you do. It sounds like you're very intentional about leaning into the franchise network and your peers and colleagues who are operating other Club Pilates studios and learning from them and developing relationships with them that because there's so much learning that happens, right? Like the peer to peer, like you're in the game and you got to be intentional about it. It's not just something that you can't just call somebody out of after 3 years and you haven't talked to them, they haven't heard from you and ask them, for help, right? I mean, they probably would, but
I have a weekly call with several other franchisees
really?
just to, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 30 minutes, it could be an hour. It's just checking in, see how things are going. Yeah.
Huh. What did you do? Like, how'd you guys set that up?
We just got to know each other at the convention and some of the, similar ways we approach business. And so,
yeah, that's great.
It's just a good thing that, you can be it's a lonely place sometimes in the business. So it's good to have those people to talk to, throw things off of, and strategize, or just, tell them about your week and how to handle a situation. Because most likely there's new situations every week that I have yet to handle personally. So it's good to have people that you can throw stuff against and say, what would you do?
Oh yeah, sometimes it's as valuable as a therapy session as it is about picking up some good nuggets to implement into the business. Yeah, and it's kind of like what the story of Club Pilates from what you shared, right? Is like as people were opening new studios across the country, like new records were being set, and it just kept going and going and going. And I don't know if anybody could predicted that, right? Like you want it to happen that way, but like, is it going to happen that way? And like that's pretty exciting and energizing to see just that there's new records being broken and people are breaking through ceilings.
I mean, it had changed a ton since we initially opened. Just the opening process had changed dramatically from that time frame to when we opened again in 2022, this past year. The sales process, as far as metrics you need to hit, as far as even the, what we're doing and what type of membership we're selling beforehand. So I was amazed.
Really?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it just, to a certain degree, I was staunch. I was like, I don't want to change because I'd had success before, but the reality was they were doing it better. So just learn and be willing to change and say, okay, we'll do it that way. It makes sense. People are having success.
Yeah, I think Club Pilates is like a great example of like one of those businesses. You look at it from the outside in, right? As a customer, you're, checking out the website or whatever, and you're like, Pilates, like, come on. But you start peeling back the onion, and there's a lot of sophistication and systems in place that make Club Pilates what Club Pilates is. It's not just, there was this massive untapped market that Club Pilates has just, been able to farm. There's a lot of strategy and a lot of intention behind how everybody does what they do in order to achieve some of these results.
That's right. Yeah, they've got it fine-tuned. Playbook's really well written, and if you follow it, then you can have success. And it's a great product. People are changing their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next? What are the grand plans you have as you guys continue to scale?
So our mission really is focused on inspiring people to take care of themselves through Pilates. Really, it's very simple. And so this is concentrating on the next play, and not getting too excited about what the future might look like. I think all three partners are in alignment as far as let's continue to build successful studios one after one, and we'll see where it takes. I think, we're constantly looking at our entity and figuring out what the value might be, but we're in a place where we're enjoying the fruits of our labor, and so we're not in a hurry to sell or exit, but we do like the path we're on right now is building new studios.
Oh yeah, no,
one at a time.
One step at a time, right? And like you said, it's not about the money. It's got to be about other stuff, the people. You got to have the money. You got to have the funding set up to be able to support the strategy that you have. But the people piece of it, and I think there's a lot of nuggets that you dropped in here that if people are, if they want to hear them, they're in there. So, wow, good stuff, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking a little bit about your story and your journey. So if folks want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
They can see me on LinkedIn. I'm always respond on LinkedIn. That's the best way.
Cool.
I
So
don't
it's
have a
John.
website or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a low key dude, but he's
Jon
a
Smith.
savvy low key dude. So Jon Smith, Jon Smith, look him up. John, appreciate it, man. I'll let you
Hey,
roll.
Drew. Yeah, thank you. Enjoyed it.
That's a wrap. Hope you found a nugget or two in there that can help you on your franchise journey. And if you ever want to talk franchising, reach out to me anytime.